Hello and welcome to Enhancing the Human podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jenna Gatsis. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Caroline Pearce. Caroline is a fitness expert and sports commentator, a former international heptathlete and bobsledder. With a background in sports science and nutrition, she's become a prominent figure in the fitness industry. Caroline is known for her work as a TV presenter and a commentator for major sports networks like the UFC, as well as her fitness coaching and motivational speaking. Caroline is very dedicated to promoting a healthy lifestyle and understanding the science and physiology behind what it takes to recover faster and enhance performance, using modalities such as whole body vibration. She's very passionate about whole body vibration, and she's dedicated her life to excelling within the profession, but also finding modalities that can help people within their own lives. So today we dive deep on whole body vibration, what it can do for the human body, how much it can do for the human body, whether it's pain relief, anti-aging, longevity, injury prevention. The physiological benefits to whole body vibration are endless, but Caroline introduced some information that I didn't even know about, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Let's get to the episode. I'm curious, and just like we were talking earlier, I just want to know how you got involved with whole body vibration, because I want to hear your story as an athlete and why you had to retire, and I'm interested to see the psychology behind what you went through. So thank you for being here, first of all.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure to be here. And whole body vibration has been part of my life for almost close to 20 years now. So when I was studying at Loughborough University in the UK, which is a big sports university, I was studying physiology, biomechanics. So I was very interested in how the human body worked. I was competing at the highest level at the time. I was a heptathlete, the 7 track and field events.
Amazing.
Bobsledding as well. But I'd suffered a lot of problems with my knee, my left knee, and it was to the point where I basically had bone on bone in that left knee from years of being out of alignment and essentially that cartilage grinding away. And I was introduced to power plate, or what I was just described to me at the time as a vibration machine, which piqued my interest. By a former colleague who I'd done trade shows with, and he was working out of Harrods, the big store in London, selling power plates. And he said, "I think you're going to like this. Come along, give it a try. It might help with your knee." So I went down one weekend and started just replicating the rehab I'd been given, the single leg balances, the step up to balance, all the stuff that's meant to help strengthen and improve the stability in your knee with vibration, with whole body vibration. And I'm stood in the middle of the store doing all these exercises, and I was like, wow, this just feels good. And whereas I was suffering a lot of muscle wastage because neurally my muscles weren't activating the area where was experienced damage, and I could feel a deep contraction in these muscles that just hadn't been switched on from all the rehab I was doing. And I was like, I have to learn the science, have to understand how this works, because my brain, being a exercise physiologist, is like, okay, this feels good, but how
is this
why?
happening?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
And then within no time, I found myself working with the company, getting involved in their research, education, teaching courses, training
because
people
you felt the
all over
benefit,
world.
and you're like, I
had my
to
own
give this to other
experience,
people.
and
Yeah.
everything about it made sense to me. And just the fact everything around us vibrates, the fact we can see and hear each other's vibration. And I was like, we're using this completely natural phenomenon that's actually been around for many, many years, the use of vibration. And I'm able to use it to accelerate my rehab, to feel better, to move better, and then learn how it can help so many other people. So that was my story, and close to 20 years later, power plate with utilizing whole body vibration is a huge part of my life.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And just so people know, when you get an injury and you have bone on bone and your body thinks something's wrong, its response is to keep you safe. So it wants to lock everything down. And then that prevents circulation, that prevents lymph flow, it prevents everything that the body needs to lubricate the joint. So that's what happens as far as muscle wasting. You start to lose the energy toward that muscle and that joint and that area surrounding. Yeah. And so what the power plate does and the vibration does, and from firsthand too, my firsthand knowledge with it is it just shakes little, I always say, like, shakes oxygen in places that haven't seen oxygen or the light of day and I don't know how many years.
I like the way you described that, actually. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you know that's what it's doing. You feel it. You're like, wow, this feels so nice.
And that's why I always say to people, you have to try it. I can describe it, especially in this environment, we're talking about it. But when people step on a power plate, they're like, I get it.
Yep.
Because it is that feeling. Essentially, you'll turn a power plate on, and from a distance, you'll probably go, what's happening? I don't see anything, because it's vibrating between 30 and 50 times per second. Like, we can't even clap that fast. And that accelerated vibration, which is predominantly up and down, causes these reflex contractions in the muscle, which is then increasing the blood flow, which is increasing the lymph flow massively, more than we can ordinarily. And a nice way to explain it is if we put our hands on our chest like that, and if you consciously create contractions, so that middle finger up and down as fast as you can go, and as powerful as you can go, okay? But if you pull that finger away and put it under stretch and let go, think of the speed and the power we're now creating. So that's the effect the vibration's having on the muscle. It's creating this sort of reflex automatic response. It's kind of the same principle. If you put your hand on something burning hot, you don't go, it's a bit hot, think I'll move. You've burnt yourself. It's just a reflex contraction.
Right.
So that's what's happening with whole body vibration very, very rapidly.
And there's levels to that. So you can prime that and you can train that reflex. And so you can touch something hot and be like, oh, that's hot, or you can enhance that. And with sports and being in sports performance, it's important to understand how to utilize the reflexes and then enhance the reflexes so that you can reduce reaction time.
Well, that's it, and also accelerate muscle contractions, like fast twitch muscle fibers. So we can talk about this for the everyday person and people with disabilities even, but for elite athletes and pretty much every NFL team, baseball team, basketball team are using power plays, soccer teams, because not only can they improve, like we have studies showing increased jump height for basketball players, increase that fast twitch muscle fiber response, but the rehab side as well for athletes, which is huge, which was my experience, because the fact that the platform's moving up and down so rapidly, it naturally moves front and back and side to side as well. So now you've got this destabilizing effect where your body's having to respond 30, 40, 50 times per second, depending on the setting, but to something moving three-dimensionally. So all those stabilizing muscles are kicking in. Like, so for me, for my knee stability, you then think of fall prevention in the elderly as well. If they're improving their stability and proprioception, you think of how quickly you can move, change direction if you're an athlete. So it's that whole spectrum of elderly through to elite athletes that can benefit from vibration.
And
fascinating.
It really is, though. And, fall prevention is so important because in the elderly, it's the leading cause of death. If you fall, break a hip, research shows that within 5 years, you're expected to pass away. So if we can do things to enhance the human body enough to preserve it, why don't we? And so I'm in the business of making people better at being themselves, and so introducing things that can increase and enhance the physiology and the body's response and just reaction time in general, and just improving every other system. And even for women, because again, I know women don't do things like my patients won't do anything if it prevents their pain, but I'm like, hey, this will give you a facelift, and they're like, I'll do it every day. Every day. And so their husband's like, how'd you get her? Yes. So remember what I said about the messaging. I have to know, it's the same information, but I have to know how to get it across to that person.
But that's actually a really good point, because when it comes to power play, it does so many different things. If I throw them all at you,
it's too much.
It's too overwhelming.
Yes.
So it's who's my audience. So say I am talking to someone that's like, I want to look better, because we can apply whole body vibration to how you look.
100%.
When you increase your blood flow, has that knock-on impact on your lymph flow, helps flush out the toxins from your body, which helps with cellulite. We can't spot reduce cellulite, but if we can increase, like using that vibration, we can help massively increase lymph flow, blood flow and lymph flow, and flush out all those toxins and chemicals that cause fluid retention. Now I've got someone's attention that's like, oh,
exactly.
I want to look better.
So you say it's the same
skin elasticity.
And I say this too because I don't like the superficial aspect of it, and I'm like, this is all superficial, but I'm catering to your motivation. I'm like, I'm just saying that so now I can tell you. And but they're gonna fix their neck pain in the meantime.
Exactly.
So
at the same time, you're doing
situation.
That massage and you're helping with tight muscles and you're helping with your myofascial release. You're going to help look at the appearance of the outside of your thighs. And skin in general as well.
And as far as for athletes with the length tension relationship, if you have longer muscles, then you can enhance your power beyond what you can if you're tight. And then with women, posturally, when you hold yourself and you have full range of motion, because a lot of people walk around and they're limited in their degrees of motion and they don't even realize it. And you had that with your knee. And
we can also correct movement patterns very quickly with power play. For example, repetition's key with everything, and it's like riding a bike. After a certain number of repetitions and practices, you've developed a motor program for that movement pattern. You get on and it's like riding a bike. Years later, you can ride that bike. I see people try and do a regular squat and their movement pattern's terrible. It's sort of like hips are forward or backs rounded, and it's very hard to retrain the correct movement pattern for just something as simple as a squat, which is in life getting up off a chair and sitting down again, for example. But with power plate, you don't actually have to move. I can put someone in a squat position. I can physically manipulate their position, go, just stay there. I'm going to turn this on, and the vibration is going to help to train that repetition of muscle contractions. So the progression is when we move you onto the ground or we add movement, you now have a really good movement pattern.
Yes.
So you're going to have better posture, as you talked about. You're going to move better. You'll be less susceptible to injuries.
Yes.
Maybe it's an athlete trying to recreate movement patterns for their sport.
Yes.
Might be plyometric, whatever it might be. So you can, and that sort of lends itself then to rehabilitation as well. I might have someone that cannot go through a full range of motion because of an injury.
Yes.
So they can just hold a fixed range position on power plate. As that starts to improve, we then increase the depth of that position until you get someone fully functioning again, so you can get them back moving, getting their muscles or preventing their muscles wasting away, getting blood flow, which is all the good nutrients to the muscles, faster. Get them back on the court, the pitch, the track even faster as well, and that was my experience.
And it's like you like you said, it's rewiring their brain, it's training their motor pattern. So, and they don't have to do anything, because people are like, should I do this every day? And I'm like, you don't have to do it every day. Like, yes, but as far as my motor control exercises, I'm like, once you train your brain and your brain knows this as a repetition, that's your way of life. You're going to always operate that way instead of operating in a restricted position. So it helps you, and it maintains longevity without you even realizing it too.
The longevity side, I feel like in our industry, there was, several years ago, it was all like the looking good. I want to be able to lift as much weight as I can, which is obviously still great. But I don't know if you feel the same, there is now a shift to wanting to feel better. And longevity, and being a little bit more aware of, what can I do to make me play tennis in my 80s, continue to just be active, walk, all the rest of it. And that's where we fit in with whole body vibration really well as well, because there's so many things I could list, but one being bone density is a huge one that we can improve. In fact, improving bone density was one of the very first uses of
I completely
vibration.
forgot about that.
Yeah, with the Russian cosmonauts back in the 50s. They used it prior to a weightlessness environment where you lose muscle and bone, and found an improvement in bone density at the time. And it's gone on to be one of the most studied and verified uses of whole body vibration. We have a lot of research. As you get older, women postmenopausal especially, that bone density declines. And what's incredible about vibration is, in order to stimulate that bone growth or prevent the decline, you need a certain amount of weight or impact going through your body. For most people, like my 80-year-old grandma, for example, can't do that.
Right.
But you can use vibration and elicit that same deformation, reformation process
without
on the
loading
bone
the joint.
Without the loading.
I love that.
And I think mentally that plays a factor as well, because it is changing, but a lot of women still have this fear of lifting weights.
Yes.
Of getting bulky, of being scared, or just, not knowing what to do.
Yes.
But with vibration, holding that fixed position, controlled movement, replicate what you do on the floor, standing on the plate, you're going to get those benefits to your bone. So it comes back to what we were talking about. Even those people looking for just the skin benefits, your bone density is going to benefit as well.
Definitely. And you don't even have to, and so we could sit there and be like,
I've tricked you there.
I say that. I'm like, I'm manipulating you right now, but you don't know. And so I love that, because as long as you're honest about it, people love that and they connect more to it, because then you're not shoving it in their face and trying to force them to do it, and you're allowing them to, have it be their idea. So it's good. And out here in LA, it's very big right now, the lymph massage. And so I tell everyone, this is a lymph massage. This is this is you doing it though. And it's you taking autonomy for your own health, and it's gonna improve your habits and create habits for life, versus you becoming sedentary and then slowly losing your posture and losing all of that.
And it's a self massage essentially. The thing with whole body vibration, you can use it for there's 3 pillars we talk about: preparation or prepare. So use it for stretching, range of motion, pre-workout. The workout itself, strength gains, bone density gains, hormone changes, all the stuff we get from improving strength using vibration.
The neuromuscular connection too.
Connection.
I remember an article I read said, because I always tell everyone, it's like you're on a boat and your brain's like trying to stabilize the whole time, so you're always firing. But it said you stimulate 900% more muscle fibers on a whole body vibration plate than on the ground.
Well, the kind of stat behind that is, if you do 30 seconds at 30 hertz of frequency, you produce 900 muscle contractions in 30 seconds, which is insane.
Right.
So it's huge. And then the third pillar is recovery. That's the massage that we're talking about. And it's everyone's favorite part. If we're doing any kind of class or session and you don't finish with literally just putting the fleshy part, whether it's outer thigh, quad, triceps, whatever it might be, on the platform, increase the settings, just maximize that blood flow and lymph flow.
It's my favorite.
It just feels good.
Yes.
It just feels really good.
I bring trigger point things on there.
Yeah, you can add that as well.
And
you
can
can
use the little bench and lay on it and doing stretching. So that's my number one thing.
Athletes love that as well.
It's the best.
Post workout training for athletes means you're then back in the gym, the pitch, whatever it is, even sooner, feeling.
And you're not going to be as sore. And like you were saying, from an injury prevention standpoint, you're not going to be as inflamed, so then you're not going to irritate the tissues as much. So if something does happen, your recovery and your rehab with that injury is going to be less.
Yeah. You're almost, because people say, well, am I going to feel sore after I've done a power plate session? And it's an interesting one, because you're almost recovering as you're stressing the body.
Yes.
It's almost a sort of a simultaneous thing. But what I usually say to people if they haven't used it before is, you might get muscle soreness depending on the intensity of which you've trained on power plate. It could be as easy or as hard as you want.
Right.
But you often will get this neurological fatigue because you're not used to it.
Yes.
Your neurons have not been used to sending messages to the muscle at that speed. So sometimes the next day people were just like, I'm a bit... So
even that same day.
Adapt. Yeah.
So even with my athletes, I will never do that beforehand, before a performance, if they have never done it before, because they're like, why am I so tired?
No, you can stretch and you can activate, but if you're going to do a fatiguing session,
but even so, depending on, because with NASCAR, I told you I was the head coach for a bunch of NASCAR teams, but that every second counts, and so if they go into relaxation and they start stimulating,
you want to stimulate, you don't want to relax till the end, till they're done.
So time and place, and that's what's good about it too, is it's versatile to not do just one thing. There's so many things, and there's so many aspects of health that can be covered with one product. That's why I love it.
And that's what's been so fascinating to me over the years, close to 20 years, because it's never boring. The science is solid. The product is incredible. And obviously it's evolved over the years, but the number of different people we can work with, help improve performance, has just been mind-blowing. And I mean, I can talk about this in my sleep. I can talk about it all day long, and if someone lets me. But it came from my own personal experience as an athlete, recovering, rehabbing, going, wow, to then seeing how many different people's lives could be impacted by it. But as we talked about before, it's just not intuitive. You don't look at a power plate machine or hear about whole body vibration and have any idea what it does. So there's a big education component that people need to understand. But when you do, you realize how good you can feel.
Yes.
And we've got some of the best names in the business, from Serena Williams using it for her recovery and talking about how incredible it is for getting her back, playing, training again the next day. Athletes don't do these things unless it makes the biggest difference.
Right.
Jeremy Renner, the actor who had that horrific snowplow accident, he's been using power plate and our Rev, which is our localized vibration, if you like, the vibrations in the pedals, and through the cycling motion, you get that massive activation in the lower legs, huge metabolic effects as well. He's been using that with the power plate machine for his rehabilitation. I worked with him personally on that, as well as all the other things he's been doing. He had this whole center set up, but the improvements he has made from almost dying to now back to pretty much doing his own stunts and running along movie sets has been incredible. So, and they're just the celebrity faces, but your everyday people that we've been able to get back. You had a story with drop foot. You mentioned to me, and we've treated people that have drop foot and used vibration to help basically get function and movement back. We've worked with people with multiple sclerosis, which we can slow the progression, help with movement that might be otherwise declining.
If you think about the neuronal sheath, when you stimulate the nervous system and you stimulate all your fluids, that sheath doesn't break down as quickly. So the sheath is your reaction time, it's your memories, it's how quickly you can deliver the message to whatever area of the body it needs to go to. And it's also your sensation. So how quickly can you pick up the signal that you are touching something hot, like we were saying earlier. So the human body is so complex, but it's very simple when you think about it, and physiologically, okay, how much is this gonna move the mark? Because some of the things that people do, they're like, I did this for 20 minutes, I did this for 30 minutes. Why? You're not sleeping, eating right, drinking water, but also, is it really doing much for you in the state that you're in right now? Because if you have all these stressors and you're not sleeping well, whole body vibration is still going to help you tremendously.
100%.
Tremendously.
Yeah, 100%. Because let's also talk about the hormone side of it as well. Power plate has been proven to reduce cortisol. Well, it's a stress hormone. All those things you talked about, not sleeping, being stressed with work, whatever it is. If you can then just get on the machine, even if it's 5 minutes, it's instant. It's obviously, we talk about doing things over time to get results and get adaptation over time, and that is important.
Yes.
But what you also get with power plate is instant changes, and we live in this world of instant gratification and the need to see instant results. But there's several things that happen immediately. You do some stretching exercises on power plate, instantly you've warmed the muscles, switched on those Golgi tendon organs, and you've improved your range of motion. You're touching your toes. just a few minutes of power plate and you've stimulated the release of irisin, and you're having suddenly this benefit, the visceral fat within your body, and leaning towards helping reduce cardiovascular disease and obesity and all the rest of it. So
interesting. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so we have studies that show power plate will reduce the visceral fat, the dangerous fat for people.
So that's
that don't
fat
know.
around your organs, just so people know, and it's really really bad for your heart.
It's the one that leads to our heart conditions.
Yes.
But whole body vibration can help to increase irisin, which is normally only produced in response to intense exercise. Most people can't do intense enough exercise to get that result. But with whole body vibration, in the same way you can get benefits to your bone without really challenging yourself in the way you'd have to with weights or whatever it might be, you get this irisin response, which helps convert that visceral fat to the brown fat, which has those metabolic, lowering blood pressure, those benefits. So a lot of it's instant, and then with regular use then gives you the longer term adaptation. But the fact you feel good instantly as well, I think is what gets people coming back to the plate.
Yes, and like I was saying, moving the mark. If you're going to spend time, we don't have time in our days. There's so much going on. We have families, everything. Your lifestyle is always crazy, but what's going to move the mark? And with Power Plate, anyone asks me what are the top products, and I always go back to my experience, and I won't speak to something unless I've tried it myself. And I've used Power Plate for so long. That gentleman that we were talking about earlier, he was completely paralyzed. He only had hip flexion, so he was completely paralyzed, and he had braces holding up the bottom of his feet. So once we did this, it took about 6 months, and we did some stimulation, motor control things on the ground, but we always started with the Power Plate, and I would work on him on the Power Plate.
Yeah.
And so I would just took the physiology of like, okay, this is what's happening here. So, and I told him visualization. I said, visualize the nerves reaching out to your feet, and whether it's the same nerve or another nerve reached out, got a dendrite in, because you can grow nerves to other places.
That's what it can essentially do.
Literally.
People with multiple sclerosis as well.
Yes.
We're essentially finding other neural pathways that are as yet undamaged or not as yet not damaged in those individuals, and that's what's helping them to get some of that function back.
And you can literally grow your nerves to stimulate something it's not even supposed to control.
Yeah.
So when someone loses hope, that block in their brain will also prevent that growth. So it's so important for people to understand this information, because it's life-changing. And I have patients that have multiple sclerosis, and I've put them on there, again, not moving, just standing there, and they get off. And at first they don't, it's so hard for them to, but then they're like, wow, I can't believe how I feel. Yeah. And then they walk the smoothest I've seen them walk in months.
And from our perspective, that's powerful.
It's unbelievable.
Very rewarding. And I mean, I there's hundreds of stories like that I could list as well with the people that I've worked with specifically with Power Plate. But I like that you talked about us not having much time and that element as well, because that's a big factor with Power Plate is you don't need much time. You're not doing an hour's worth of exercises on that machine. You'd be neurally exhausted. You don't need to, because the muscles are contracting and relaxing so quickly. It's acceleration. You accelerate everything. You accelerate the rate at which you develop strength, accelerate that muscle breakdown repair process, accelerate blood flow, lymph flow. So we sometimes just refer to whole body vibration training or Power Plate training as acceleration training, because that's essentially what you're doing.
Amazing.
So if people just at a recreation level, don't have time, you go and do Power Plate classes for 20, 30 minutes, an hour, back to work, eat your lunch, you've saved time. And I think in today's world where we don't have time, or we don't want to give up much time,
right,
but you're still going to get those benefits, that's really powerful as well.
It is. And it's not a hindrance to your life. You can get one for your home, and it's easy. And I feel like if someone were to ask me what things would benefit me, hyperbaric chamber, obviously, I love the PEMF mats, but the Power Plate has always been there.
My two things, Power Plate and cold therapy. Two things I swear by. Absolutely swear by. And if you've got a cold plunge, great. If you live near a cold lake, great. Or just have a cold shower.
Yes.
30-second cold blast at the end of your shower. And obviously sauna as well is hugely beneficial. But for me, it's been whole body vibration, cold therapy, heat as well with saunas. And we talk about biohacking and so forth, but it's really bio-optimization. It's just what can we do to optimize how we feel, whether it's preventing disease, avoiding getting disease, or whether it's just feeling better in our day-to-day life.
Well, think about it from a standpoint, because I like for people to understand big picture. When your lymph is flowing correctly, if you have, a virus or something that's attacking your system, you're able to efficiently get rid of it right away. You're not, under attack from other things, or you have allergies and you're inflamed over here, because we only have so much blood flow. So if your blood is going to repairing this or breaking down this, it doesn't have the capacity to protect you and your immune system. So you're literally preventing yourself from getting sick. And you're enhancing every aspect of your body. Yeah. And it's the number one for me too, anti-aging. So with the hyperbaric chamber, we had people in the hospital where they would have these sores, and they were bed sores, because it's like the most expensive thing in the hospital because you can't get rid of it. But the hyperbaric chamber was the only thing to heal the sore. Wow. So it's like you see, and just like power plate, it's unbelievable what you can do in one session, and it's everything. You're oxygenating every part of the body. So I like for people to know what's important and what can actually make a big change, so plan your time accordingly.
Yeah, and I was going to sort of feed into that, the whole idea of accessibility as well, because a lot of these things people think, well, they're either too expensive or I wouldn't know where to find it. We have a whole range of different power plate models, from the smallest models you can use in the home, the larger models that some people have in the home, or you can go to a gym that might have one, or access classes, dedicated power plate studios where you pay as you go, or you have a membership, whatever it might be. So there's a whole range of different size products and that we do, that means it becomes accessible to everybody.
And there's usually a facility that has one within people's area. Do you guys have something?
In fact, on the website you can do a location finder.
Nice.
Yeah, you can find whether and try it. Give it a try for yourself.
I used to know other reps, because I'm telling you, when I was a personal trainer before anything, that we had power plates, and I used to talk to the reps about, where are the other ones located, just in case I go anywhere else. I need to know.
We got the Lifetime, Equinox gyms,
Lifetime Export Fitness in Chicago. That's where I was.
Vibes in Chicago. If you're in Chicago, great studio. Nice. They've got the most number of power plates in one studio.
Oh, amazing.
Vibes Fit, yeah.
So is it just like a class dedicated? Because we have that out here too.
Yeah, we've got Plate Fit out here.
Yes.
Yeah. So Vibes there's about 20 machines. So I've been over there to teach, and it's really, and each class 30 minutes, that's it.
See, and that's all you need, and your body's enhancing every aspect.
There was one woman that'd been coming to those classes regularly. She was 80 years old, and she was doing full push-ups on power plate.
I love
80 years old. She said she didn't used to be able to do it, but she's been working with vibration, and her core's strong, and her upper body, for women especially, gets weak and vulnerable as we get older.
Yes.
And that vibration is just strengthening, stabilizing those joints. And I was like, this woman's my inspiration.
And it's one of the best markers of health is, your upper body strength and your grip strength. Yeah. And so for women especially, that's so powerful. Yeah. So 80 years old.
I know. And if people are sitting there thinking, well, what do I do on this machine? You're talking about all these benefits. What do I do? The way I like to describe it, and I briefly mentioned it, is whatever you do on the ground, do it on the plate. If you do squats, lunges, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever it might be, add dumbbells to intensify that impact or that effect even more, do it on power plate. You might not have to move, you can just hold it, or you can change the range, or or instructor will guide you through. But we also have a free power plate app that's just got a ton of workouts you can follow along to as well. So even if you don't have a machine, just check that out and see if it's something that is of interest to you.
The newer models too have the whole screen.
It's inbuilt into the screen.
You can see what to do, and it gives you directions. So
you can follow along there.
Yeah, there's so much.
And I'm your trainer on the machine.
Are you serious? I love that. I'm gonna be like, hey, I know her. That's so funny.
So I'll be your personal trainer. And on the app as well, myself and our other master trainers. So we've got everything from,
that's amazing.
You can replicate yoga classes on there, Pilates, HIIT training, dance, whatever it might be, sort of CrossFit style training.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of stuff that I see too, because I read a lot of research about people being unstable, and people are so unstable as is, and I was talking about this earlier, where if you don't own a static position, you shouldn't be dynamic. So that's where
that's why we start static on the machine.
Yes, and when you talked about that and talked about you don't even have to change range of motion, and you'll get range of motion changes and benefits even when you're not moving. So I think that's so powerful too, because there's so much you can do with that from a safety standpoint, depending on what you have as far as injuries.
Well, that's a good point. The safety side, like I've mentioned, when my grandma was alive, 80 years old. Yeah, she wasn't lunging on and off the machine, but she was standing on it and holding on.
Yes.
We'd have her there for 30 seconds. We'd sit her back down again, and we'd do it again.
And that's the most her brain's probably been stimulated in a long time.
Yeah,
it's huge. So big as far as the changes with that, and I feel like meeting people where they are, like we were talking earlier about the cold tub and take a cold shower, even because a lot of people, the body just wants to stay safe. So
comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it will do anything to stay safe and comfortable. And so whenever someone has a resistance to something, I'm like, oh, you need that the most. So a lot of my women will be like, I hate the cold. And I was like, you need the cold.
Yeah.
I'm like, nobody likes the cold. Nobody likes the cold.
Do you know what's funny? I actually prefer being cold in an ice bath than I do being hot in an infrared sauna.
Really?
I much prefer the feeling of being uncomfortably cold to uncomfortably hot. Now, if I'm lying on a beach in the south of France, it's a different kettle of fish. But in terms of that experience, that kind of longevity experience, yeah, I'd rather do that 3 minutes in an ice bath. I don't know. It's something.
I don't know.
Almost my brain likes that. I'm testing myself because
Well,
I did it for years as an athlete.
I'm the same way, but the extremes of both are like intense for me. But because I like being hot, but I love pushing through the uncomfortable points.
Yeah.
And I challenge my patients. We'll do it together, and they're like, "Let me see how long you can go." And I know myself too. I don't want to do it unless I schedule it with someone because I do other things and get distracted. So even this morning, my patient and I did it, and we worked out too. So it was so nice.
But that teamwork element's
It's the
important in
best.
everything, isn't it?
Yes.
You share. It's almost like sharing in the uncomfortable with somebody else makes it so much better.
Yes, and just scheduling things in under because one of my employees, we went to a plate fit class, and she had never done it before. There's a lot of ignorance around it, and when it is in a class, it's easier. But when it's by itself, just standing there in a facility, it's intimidating.
It is, and that's I always say, like, it's having trainers that understand it.
Yes.
And we do a lot of work training the trainers, but you get staff turnover, and the new trainers maybe don't understand it or know it, and so there's less client use. But when a trainer knows that, I go in some gyms. And I'm almost like, I want to get on the power plate, but I can't. Everyone's using it. Okay, these trainers know what they're doing. They're getting it. And then you go in other gyms and no one's using it. And it's just education. People are slightly intimidated. Does it weigh me? What do I hang my clothes on? What do I do? But it's like, no, you have the most powerful tool there for your well-being and your longevity. And if you just and the way we introduce people is pretty simple. We just say, put one foot on the machine. And I'm going to take you through the range of settings. You can just feel the difference and the increase in that vibration. And then we increase what we call the amplitude as well. So not only are we increasing how fast the platform moves up and down, like that feeling of it leaving your body and coming back again, but we can double the amplitude, which is the vertical distance. And it's from 1 to 2 millimeter. It's tiny, but it essentially doubles the force of gravity going through your body. So I get people to experience those two different things. And then we're like, okay, let's try a squat. Let's try push up, let's try sit up, just 3 exercises. Let's do a stretch, let's do a massage. And then people are like, oh, okay, this feels good. I can see
it's not
what this is
intimidating.
doing.
They can see, okay, we're going to do this. And then anything that ends in a massage, you're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, I will work my way to that point and I get to do the massage. But and then you can't keep people off it because it feels good. And I got to the point where I don't even like to start a workout if I haven't stretched on power play. I don't feel ready and prepared.
No.
And it speeds it up because stretching's boring for a lot of people. You want to get into the gym, get out, you haven't got time to stretch. But when vibrations assisting that stretching process and warming your muscles so quickly, you're like, I'm ready to go now.
And it does so much. One squat on the floor doesn't do anything. You do a squat on the power plate, you feel like a new person.
Oh, it's quite humbling as well.
It's unbelievable.
We'll be at trade shows and these big, bulky, sort of muscle-built men, obviously lift a lot of weight, eat a lot of protein, coming along and, what is this thing? And it doesn't look very hard. And I just put them on, hold them in a squat position. So just say, hold that squat for 60 seconds, about 35, 40 hertz of frequency, and watch them shake as you get through that sort of first 10, 20 seconds.
Interesting.
Because it's a different stimulus.
Right. And I get that all the time too with my bodybuilders or my guys that only work the different types of fibers and the strength and power fibers because they don't have the control, they don't have the coordination. And there's the difference between the fibers. The endurance fibers are supposed to hold up your body all day long and be able to hold your skeleton, anytime you're awake, basically. So that's an endurance fiber, but something that's a power or strength fiber is a little bit quicker. It fatigues quicker.
Faster,
And so that's interesting to see that can bring that out of them.
Yeah, it's almost like I think recently there was a video that went around and it was showing a load of NFL players do Pilates, and they were showing how humbling it was for them because they can't hold those, they can throw balls, they can sprint and move from A to B really quickly, but just holding a position for a fixed period of time. Like the idea here, we're doing that with these big men on power plate, and now they're having to hold a position with a vibration. It's tough.
It's so good though, because that's going to help prevent injury.
Oh, massively.
So much so. And so I love that. Because I haven't seen, I know we have the plate fit here, but I haven't seen that much, but just see you guys have the app now, and there's a lot more that you're doing.
There's a lot. Yeah, the app was important for us because, again, like I say, you don't instantly know what to do, but
Right.
to see, okay, these are workouts that I know, and you're showing me how I do it with vibration. It's as simple as that.
I love that.
You know?
So tell me a little bit more about you said you retired, and I know that you said power plate helped you recover, but just tell me a little bit about that and the psychology behind that, because as we were speaking about earlier, it's sad to see athletes go through something where they lose their ability or they lose their function because that's their identity, and you lose hope, and like I said, that can crutch the nervous system to make you not ever heal because your brain is stuck in the I can't and I won't type of phase. So explain a little bit about what you went through and how you got through that and how power plate helped you get through that.
Yeah, 100%. Athletics was my life. My goal was always to be an Olympic champion. Nothing else mattered. But, luckily I had the foresight to study as well. And I just loved and I was obsessed by human movement, the human body. So naturally for me, I gravitated towards physiology, nutrition, biomechanics. So when I came across power plate, like I said, it all made sense to me. But I was aware I'd spent a long time rehabbing prior to that. And this sort of bone-on-bone condition was obviously getting a lot better with the use of vibration. But I'd missed a lot of time from competition. Certain movements still weren't as quick and as powerful as they needed to be to operate at that top level. So after, I guess, about another year, I decided I need to move on to what is the next phase of my life. But there was that, which wasn't competing anymore, unfortunately. But there was that weird sort of loss of identity that you talk about. My identity was woven in being, I am an athlete. That is who I am. That's how I operate. But interestingly, I knew I wanted to stay involved in the field of athletics, sport, human movement. So I sort of forged two careers, really. One being in the sports science world, and with power plate just becoming this huge part of that. I was then working with athletes with power plate, which gave me that sense of still being involved in that world. And then I also trained additionally in sports broadcasting, and sort of ventured into working as a host and a reporter across many different sports, and mainly now I do the UFC for a British network called TNT Sports. I've worked with Fox Sports, ESPN here. I do a lot of boxing, covered soccer, sports news, kabaddi in India, all different sports, which has been fascinating. So having been an athlete myself has enabled me to go into that sports science field and really feel like I know what I'm talking about there, combined with my education, and then interview athletes knowing what it feels like to win, lose, struggle, train at the highest level, put everything into one basket. So did I reach my ultimate goal as an athlete? No. Competed for my country, did championships, did some amazing things. Transitioned to bobsled for a year before my retirement as well, which was an incredible experience. But I do feel that athlete mentality is still part of my identity and who I am and what I do. I'm competitive, yes, that's still a big part of it. Slightly less than I used to be. But I do approach everything with that goal setting, strategic mindset to try and be the best at what I do. So I always say I think sport teaches us a lot, and I think it sets us up well for whatever we choose to do in life, not just in terms of our physicality and looking after our body, but also, and I think almost most importantly, our mindset. And power plate just gave me this vehicle to continue to talk about the human body, to be active. I'm still very, very active. I might not compete, but I train very hard. I can train other people to the level that they need. And then it opened up the media world for me as well, because I would, living in the UK, I'd travel to the States, would be filming all these workouts, going on, doing infomercials, going on talk shows. So it really sort of gave me this opportunity to do the things I love in a different way, with something that, is very research backed, had a huge impact on other people's lives, and has been a big part of my life for so many years as well.
I love that. And I also feel, because you said something about not accomplishing your goal as an athlete, but I feel like if this all didn't happen, then you would never have the foresight to be able to move past the psychology of it, because I feel like power plate kind of helped you get past that crutch of, because I see a lot of athletes
I had something
and it was like a little bit of hope, but it was also priming your nervous system to get rid of your block of maybe thinking that this was it, and maybe it wasn't it, maybe this is it, and
maybe that wasn't the path,
right? And it's like everything happens for a reason, and I feel like to see, like, sports is great, but I feel like your life and seeing how many lives you've touched and the purpose of it and how you relate to the athletes, I think is beautiful. I think it's unbelievable. So it's, there's never I didn't do this, because
I've learned to understand that over the years, but at the time it is very tough. And I think for people, and I always say, to any young athlete or aspiring athlete, I'm all about, plan A being what you pretty much put everything into, because I don't think you can be the best without putting everything into something.
Right.
But it doesn't harm to have some balls in other baskets, so to speak, whether it's with your education, other interests, etc.
Definitely.
Because one day they can either complement anyway, or one day you might need something else. So.
Right. And
it's never a bad thing.
And kudos to you too for going to school and studying, because most athletes, they, especially in the US, they get comfortable and they want to just, focus on the sport, and they don't want to dabble in other things, and that's so important.
Which is understandable, but I was lucky because Loughborough University was the biggest sports university in the UK, so I got to do it all. I was studying, but then it was an amazing setup for training the coaches, everything. So studying was just part of it, and they enabled us the time to train, to compete, and all the rest of it. So I was very lucky in that respect, but it was still making that choice to follow that path.
Right.
Yeah.
And how far were you in your career, as far as how long were you in your career when you had the knee injury? So
I sort of officially retired, if you like, at age 27, which is kind of the peak of your athletic ability, really. I mean, I felt in the best shape of my life otherwise.
Right.
And it had been sort of 2 years of it being a problem, because, I was competing from the age of 11 at, England junior trials and competitions, all through to the under 15s, under 17s, under 20s, under 21s, and then senior level. So I felt like I've been doing it for a long time, and I was just sort of reaching that pinnacle. I'd also started, and I think that's what it was. I was now spending the winter doing bobsled, and then summer doing track, and it's a lot for the body. And I always had this mentality, which was more is better. I always thought more was better. So Christmas Day, if I'm climbing the fence to get on the track and train, and no one else is, I'm going to do better. If I'm doing those extra reps, extra weights, not resting, more is better. As my sports science knowledge evolved, I realized that rest is important, and I was probably missing a key component of what would have probably given me the longevity in my sport. And almost wish I'd found power plate 5 years before.
That's what I was thinking, because I mean, imagine if it helped you so much that far along in your career. Imagine now you get to talk to athletes that are in the prime of their career, or even before that. I mean, 11 years old.
Oh, and even the work I do with the UFC as a sports broadcaster, we've got power plates to different fighters, from Nate Diaz to Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler was, as a former champion, was using power plate for his knee rehabilitation. So I might be talking to them about the fights, and I'll be like, hey, you want to try power plate? You want to get on the machine? Bas Rutten, a legend of the sport, been using it. So, and they all want the tools that make them the absolute best and help them recover from horrific injuries you get from fighting.
Yes, and just life in general.
And
it's so nice because I push things that are true. I will not put my name on something.
And I know from talking to you, know how this works.
I love the power play. Yeah. And I love research, because I don't ever want someone to ask me something and me give them advice that could steer them the wrong way. So, we're humans and we don't know a lot, and research says needs more research. Yeah. But from what we do know, this is so impactful and can make such a difference in anyone's life, even children, with all the hyperactivity and the phones and all of that, just breathing on there and sitting next to it and being able, it calms them down. Yeah. Some of my kids that I see, they're angry and they're so hyperactive that because they have so much energy built up. Yeah. What I see is people hold their breath and then they go into this sympathetic mode where they're constantly in this fight or flight type of situation, and they become impulsive. Yeah. So with kids, you can get them on there, tell them to breathe a little bit, or just put your hand on their back when they sit on it. They're a different person when they leave. So the parents are like, what just happened? Where do I get one of these?
Well, it's a testament to that sort of therapeutic effect of vibration. We had studios in the UK, and they'd have like a mums and babies morning. Aww. So while the plates were lined up and the mums were doing their workout with vibration, they'd put the babies in their little, buggy things. What are they called? The little things you take off and put on the floor. And they'd all go to sleep because the vibration's coming through the floor. Wow. And it's having this sort of therapeutic effect where they sort of then would all go to sleep during this class, which is quite nice. And even dogs dogs will gravitate and want to get on a power plate. The number of times we look around and the dog sat on the power plate because they just instinctively are led towards what feels good.
Well, the animals are always like that. I speak to that a lot because I started using copper with some of my gardening, and just like with the sun, how the cats sit in the sun, dogs sit in the sunlight. So with copper, the butterflies are always here. I have hummingbirds here all the time. It's weird, because if you put a copper antenna in a plant, it'll look like a different plant the next day. And then what it yields, I have like 50 peaches out there, and I kill everything because I'm so busy. And this thing is, everything that I have is thriving. And
because of
just a copper antenna rod. Yeah.
So should we have those in our homes?
Yes, 100%. And then there's bees everywhere. Bad thing about that is Zoe eats all the bees. We're now on like bee number 4, sting, and apparently she's allergic. But we have our routine down.
I feel like Zoe would like power plate.
She would 100% love it. 100%. Zoe's my dog. So she should we'll bring her out here later. Yeah, so I love that also. In all of this, like, it makes me so happy just to see that not only did you want to study new things, but you also are a powerhouse in this. And we spoke to this earlier where, being a woman in the sports industry is not something to, look at as far as like being victimized, but it's something where you're working against a lot of resistance, and it's not a norm to see a woman in a power position in any type of sport. So it's I just love watching it, and it's refreshing to see how you're just thriving in it. So I love seeing women do things, and like
me too. And you likewise hearing your story.
It's so much fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not just say I want to be better than guys or masculinity's bad. It's not at all. It's just I think everyone should be able to find themselves in what makes them passionate, and then share that with other people.
Yeah, and I agree. And I work in a very male-dominated environment with the UFC and with boxing, but there's a group of us female hosts that have been doing it for a very long time. I think I was probably the first female UFC host in the UK. I wouldn't put my money on that, but I was certainly one of the first over 10 years ago. But there's been other women that might be my Brazilian contingent with their network, or the ESPN contingent, the American counterpart, and we've sort of been in this together, and we all sort of sometimes talk to each other and are like, you're killing it, or it's great to see you still there. And it's been really nice. And not to say, it's harder for us, but you certainly have to overcome a certain assumptions as to why you might have got the job, or questioning your knowledge or ability. And I'd even had some fighter. There was a fighter, and this was several years ago. I was covering an event in Hong Kong, not Hong Kong. It was in Tokyo, so it was at the Saitama Arena in Tokyo. And heavyweight fighter, didn't know who I was, nor should he, but I interviewed him after the weigh-ins. It was a little, didn't really care, just politely answering the questions. And I got talking with his coach, who found out I was a bobsledder and an athlete and sports scientist. And apparently he'd relayed this information just out of, that girl does this and whatever. And the next day he was a completely different person in our interview, was asking me questions. And I think it was just knowing that, you've competed.
Yes.
You know what you're talking about. So I feel like sometimes you have to almost earn your stripes a little bit more to get accepted.
Yes.
But there's more and more women stepping into sports broadcasting, big sports science roles, etc. And I have young women, sometimes come to me asking advice on getting started, and I love it. And I'm happy to share that advice. But it's certainly a rewarding job, and one where you got to know your stuff, and you got to work hard at it. And
guy or girl, you have to know your stuff. So to go in
industry.
and own it it says something. So it's huge, and the fact that you're bringing products to people like within the same time that can change their lives it speaks highly of you. So thank you for doing what you do. And it's so funny because do you know Kate Abdo?
I do.
I love Kate. I love Kate. And so it's so funny because every time I see her boxing, because I work with a lot of boxers too.
She's a big inspiration to me as well.
She's
Obviously,
amazing.
She came across from the UK.
Yes.
She speaks multiple languages.
She's amazing.
Has all these guys in check, doesn't she?
Yes,
Owning the desk. She's
love
brilliant.
it.
Yeah, I haven't met her in person, but I follow her journey, and she's a big inspiration.
Yeah, she's the sweetest. And
you know her?
Yeah, I know her personally, and she's an amazing human being. And that's why, sometimes too with women, they get threatened, but like if you're not willing to put the work in, you are threatened by other people. Yeah. So, there's some cattiness in it too if you are someone that's in an authoritative role. So when you know your stuff, you like find these little buddies who are like, you know your stuff too. Like, so you know the work you had to put in. So there's a baseline respect there versus I want to take from you.
And I think that's always going to exist, I think, with men and with women in any competitive industry. But we're always stronger together.
Yes.
And I think there's always space for other people. Yes, certain networks, certain jobs, there's a position, and there might be a lot of people that want that position. But I think at the end of the day, there's so many ways now to carve out a niche for yourself. We can pick up our phone and create content now. You have the ability to show people what you can do. And I think that's really powerful. And it's, you put in the work hard, and is there an element of luck? Is there an element of being in the right place, right time, knowing the right people? Of course there is. But I do think if you work hard enough, you get yourself, and you know your stuff, that ultimately shines through.
Definitely. And you overcome so many things. And even those failures or those things that you've overcome, that leads you to so much more too. So I wouldn't change anything that I went through, because I feel like I wouldn't be who I am without those things. So,
and it's built your knowledge, hasn't it, even further, the things you've had to deal with.
Definitely. So I love that. And it's refreshing. I feel like we're going to be friends for a long time, just because I'm like, let's slang these power plates. Let's get these people this healthy stuff to use in their lives.
How long are we talking? People are probably watching going, are they ever going to stop?
Right? I'm like, what time is it?
Well, hopefully they just feel involved in the conversation.
Right, hopefully, because that's the thing, is I don't feel people understand anything about it. So it's good to see you use it on your own, and it's part of your life. You're not just, speaking to something that you don't use. And
17 years in,
it's amazing. I love that. That makes me so happy. Usually Stinny tells me the time though, so I'm like completely.
As far as how far?
Yeah, how long?
50 minutes.
Okay, good. That was perfect time. I got like an internal clock going. Yeah. So I ask everyone the same questions, and one of them is, if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
The obvious one that comes to mind is just not to worry so much. Always been worried about, or almost like thinking what's next very often, not working so hard to get where I want to be, yet when I get there thinking about what's next. So I think it's take away some of the worry and almost enjoy the moment as you're progressing through life, career, whatever it might
journey.
Be. Yeah,
I need that. I need that.
I know.
I'm working towards that.
A-type personality where your brain's always going 100 miles an hour. So yeah, just take a beat.
I love that. That makes me happy. I need that in my life. And then the second one, I'm like, my fingers like throbbing. Oh no, this is your thing. It's so funny. I didn't get sleep last night, and I'm so my eyes. I'm like,
oh, you wouldn't know it.
Well, you're really perfect. It's when you go to recall memories, and I'm like, it's not there. Let me see. She sent it to me. This one is the number one behavior change that you think will lead to the biggest change in someone's life.
Oh gosh, the number one behavior change that will lead to
And you can take time to think. It's interesting.
I think there's a few. I think a big one's accountability. Because I think it's very easy to blame circumstance, other people, and as a result you're never gonna make change, be better, etc. So I'm probably giving you several answers here, but I think accountability is one of them. And I guess linked to that as well is taking action. I think we're very good to talk about things, what we should be doing, why we should be doing it, one day we'll do it, but there's very few people that actually then go on and do it. The doers, if you like. I think it's very, very easy to be a talker about things, but actually being someone that does it. And it's almost like not getting stuck in your own bullshit, really, as well, isn't it? Which is part of that.
I tell people that you get sick of your own shit.
Your behavior doesn't change if you convince yourself that what you're doing is okay.
Yes.
So I think that's sort of where I'm going with that. Accountability. And we've talked about it as well, and being uncomfortable. You don't change your behavior if you don't occasionally put yourself in a position to be uncomfortable. And a great bit of advice I was given coming up in my sports broadcasting career was by a fellow sports broadcaster that I admired a lot and had done a lot of great things, and they just said to me, never sit in the comfy chair. And I've always gone by that, because when I was offered the job at BT Sport, the UK network had launched to try and rival Sky Sports in the UK as one of the big two sports networks, equivalent to your ESPNs and your Fox Sports, etc. And they said to me, would you like to host a weekly show on the UFC? And at the time, I did not know much about the UFC. I was very well versed in a lot of sports, but UFC was relatively unknown in the UK, much more so than here in the US. Still, there was a certain perception around it. And I thought to myself, okay, this wasn't the sport I thought I'd do or get involved with, but this would get me in the door. Let's see. And so I always went with this whole say yes and learn type attitude. Don't sit in the comfy chair, say yes and learn.
Yes.
And so the hours that I put in learning, watching every bit of tape I could find on what had gone before, just to do every Tuesday show, involved so much work, disproportionate to the hour I was sat in that chair and the pay that was, accorded to it at the time. But I fell in love with the sport, and I fell in love with the job and everything that came with it. And then several months later, when the sport I really wanted to host sort of came up opportunity-wise, I was like, no, this is my thing now. This is what I want to do. So, yeah, I think a big part of it is just not being comfortable and learning how to be uncomfortable and push yourself to do the scary things.
I love that. That's so important. And what you said about, taking action, I feel like people get stuck when they create too much of a response in their head. Because when you're like, all my patients are like, I have to do this, I should do this, I should do this. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do one of those things.
Yeah.
Do one thing.
And I say that to people with exercise. Just put your shoes on. Step one.
Yes.
And either step out the door, step in the gym, the rest will follow.
Yes.
The rest will follow. Just make that first step. And also just let go of this, and I'm terrible for this, but let go of the idea of perfectionism as well. And I'm a perfectionist. And I think that's another thing that, I'm not saying I'm doing it very well, but sometimes I'm like, it doesn't have to be perfect, just has to get done.
Yes.
So that's something that I'm still
overanalyze
working
things.
on.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. One of my videographers says the same thing. She's like, you don't think it's perfect because I don't want to post anything unless, she's like, but you don't realize how good it is. And I'm like, wow. So yeah, you're right in that too. So.
And you need those people around you that can champion you and tell you sometimes.
And exactly. So that's the thing is it's a hard conversation to have. And I appreciate you saying that because I admire that. And I think it's important that, if someone needs something or if you feel a certain way, not to cower back and just take the easy route out and not say anything and just, ruin the relationship. I think it's important to voice your opinion, and maybe that person needs that in order to grow, or maybe it's going to do something to help you grow. So I just think getting back to morals and integrity and having, a strong backbone and saying what needs to be said is so important because everyone needs that conversation, and I think it can help people grow so much instead of just, again, taking the easy route.
Yeah, agree.
I love the hard route. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
you for doing
great.
Everything that you do, and just it's so refreshing to see. And I can't wait to. I feel like we're going to be doing charity events. If you see that in the future, I'm like, all I can think about is how we can help other people and bring awareness to the company, but also to what it can do. And I did a marathon with someone before that was paralyzed, and we used an exoskeleton. Did the whole marathon. We walked for 34 hours, and we did little pit stops, and we changed his batteries, and so things like that I love.
Wow, that's
because
incredible.
When you think, I'm having a bad day, I'm like, you don't understand what this person's going through, and he's smiling the whole time, and the amount of people that we inspired through that. But those are the type of sponsorships and events that I love being a part of, and so we created that. I told him, I'm sponsoring you, and let's go. So anything like that you can think of that you feel passionate towards, always think of me, because I love my whole team loves being part of that, and I
love it.
I feel like we're gonna do some good things in the world. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and a huge thank you to Caroline for joining us today. Not only did she provide us with thrilling insights into the world of whole body vibration, but she also enlightened us into her own experience as an athlete and overcoming injury and psychological barriers. To our listeners, make sure to follow the Enhancing the Human podcast to catch more enlightening conversations like this one. If you're interested in whole body vibration, click the link below. We'll see you on the next episode.